Hi, my name is Henry Sohn, and I'm an SAT critical reading teacher at PSU EduCenter. And I am so glad that you guys have decided to visit the website and to see other teachers' SAT videos. It will give you a good idea about how great our SAT teachers are. Okay. Now, to give a brief introduction of myself, I am known as a dream catcher. I basically make students' dreams come true by increasing their SAT scores to where they want them to be and to lead them to schools that they want to go to. So I know that you guys have a lot of SAT prep schools to choose from, but I can guarantee you if you choose PSU EduCenter, you will not regret your choice. You will have your scores where you want them to be and go to the schools that you want to go to. Okay, so for today, I'm going to give you a short lecture on one of the parts of the critical reading section, just to give you an idea of how the classes are going to go and just to give you an idea of how the questions will be explained throughout the classes if you decide to join us during the summer at PSU EduCenter. Okay. So the pair passage section looks like this. You receive a pair of passages, two passages, and 4 questions that follow it. Now, these 2 passages can be agreeing with each other, can be disagreeing with each other, they can be slightly unrelated, but also there's always a common element between the 2 passages that the questions will ask you for. Now, the questions generally are like a passage, one author. What does the passage 1 author think about this part of passage 2? Or what does the author of passage 2 think about this part of passage 1? Or what would passage 1's author think about passage 2's author? Something like that. Questions that are related to each other, related in terms of passages. So the questions would be related, to the relationship between passage 1 and passage 2. So it's good to understand what the attitude of the passage 1 author is, what the attitude of the passage 2 author is. In order to do that, a good way to do that is to after you read the passage 1 and passage 2, you come up with a sentence that you write in your own words that contains the main idea, the main sort of topic of the passage, and that involves the author's attitude towards the topic that is handled inside the passages. A sentence that contains that, a very brief sentence, can help you immensely when you're dealing with questions that come out afterwards. So you can always refer back to the sentences that you wrote so as to remember what the authors of passage 1 and 2 were thinking when they were writing these passages. Okay? So I just want to go over a few questions, a couple of questions with you guys to give you an idea of how the SAT critical reading section in the pair passage section is structured, how you have to approach the questions. So I would be giving you my expertise on that regard. Okay. So let's go on to the first question. We see, first of all, these 2 passages are about how to define truth. Okay? So the first passage mentions that scientists in general define truth as something that is provable by experimentation and is something that is logical. And passage 1's author says that that is not always true. Truth can involve something that is not logical, not experimentally provable, such as spiritual experiences and personal experiences. Passage 2 is about this individual named James Austin, who has had this personal spiritual enlightenment just by walking along the Thames River and looking at the cityscape with the cities, with the skies and buildings. It also talks about how he has written a book and how it contains basically his experience and how that experience caused him to pursue neurological studies on spiritual experiences. So let's go on to the question and see what the questions are like. It says, the scientists referred to in passage 1, line 1, passage 1 would most likely view the book mentioned in line 21, passage 2 with, and we have 5 choices over there, okay? So whenever you see something in quotation marks, that's taken from the passage. So whenever you see something that is in quotation marks, you have to go back to the passage and read and see what those words actually, how they are described and explained within the passage, and see the context of the passage. So scientists in passage 1 is basically, they split the universe into two realms, science and rationality, and it's saying that truth is something that can only be experimentally proven and only can be fit into the straitjacket of logic. So this book, then again, this book is in passage 2. James Austin writes this book through a spiritual enlightenment that he has, which is not something that scientists consider as truth. They don't find that experimentally provable or can be categorized as logic. Therefore, we have to look for something that is along the lines of dismissal, disapproval, or doubtfulness. Okay? We see the answer in E, skepticism, right? Doubtfulness is similar to skepticism, and scientists would view this book with doubt, basically thinking that, oh, what this book is saying is not true. It is not, it may not be true because it is not categorizable as something that's experimentally proven or something that's logical. Okay? The rest of the answer choices will not work because the scientists have a firm idea and opinion on the book itself. Respect would not be something that we're looking for. It's actually the opposite of what we're looking for. Curiosity would need attentiveness in order to be curious. Therefore, we scratch that out from the answer choices. See, objectivity. Scientists, you usually generally associate scientists with objectivity. But in this case, scientists have a firm opinion on it, so therefore we don't need to select this answer. D, ambivalence. We know that the scientists are sure about their opinion, therefore we know that D is not the answer. Okay, let's go over to the next question. James Austin in passage 2 would most likely respond to the assertion in lines 6 to 7 in passage 1, life is ... weave, by. So in this type of question, we also go back to the place where we see the life is ... weave, which is on 6 to 7. This approach may work beautifully within the scope of questions that science can answer, but life is a far richer tapestry than the threads of logic alone can weave. Now, James Austin is someone who has had this spiritual enlightenment and has attributed knowledge to that spiritual enlightenment. Now, so he will believe that science itself cannot define truth by itself. Truth has other realms that is not scientific, that is not experimentally proven, and it's not logical. Therefore, Austin would agree with this passage. Life is a far richer tapestry than the threads of logic alone can weave, because it's basically, James Austin is somebody who has experienced that personal experiences can yield truth. So we know that it's agreeing, so we know that we have to choose between A and B. Now, it comes down to whether or not we should choose A or B. A says citing his own evidence, experience as evidence, and B, citing specific scientific findings as proof. Which one do you think will be the answer? You can see that it will be A because James Austin is basically attributing his personal experiences, spiritual experiences, to the acquirement of knowledge. So his own experiences will be his evidence. He will actually be opposed to providing specific scientific findings as proof because he's a believer that some truths are obtained without scientific evidence. Okay? Therefore, A will be the closer answer, thus A will be the answer. Okay? All right, so I have gone over with you guys on two types of questions that you will see in the pair passage section of the critical reading. Now, if you come to PSU Edu Center for the summer to do SAT, you will go through with me a lot of different types of questions, even the long passage section, two passage sort of comparison questions in the long passage section. All those different types of questions you will be able to study and learn and know how to solve if you come to PSU Edu Center for SAT reading. Okay, so this is the end of my little lecture that I'm giving you today. I really hope to see you at PSU Edu Center this summer for your SAT studies, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.